Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Tuesday. The sun is finally shining over here in the UK. I hope you're having a very good day wherever you are watching or listening to this around the world. The Premier League fixtures are out. We now know who and when Arsenal will be playing. Well, kind of, because we know these fixture lists are always subject to change, but we can kind of map out the season now Arsenal are going to be having in 2024-2025. I'm sure you've seen those fixtures. We will talk about them in today's show. Not the easiest of starts for Arsenal. But having said that, the run-in, the final couple of months, not too bad on paper, of course. So we'll talk about that. I've got lots of reaction from what we were talking about yesterday. Loads of you getting in touch talking about the sort of midfield issue and what Arsenal's plans could be this summer, where they should look to strengthen in that midfield. Loads of reaction to that. So I pulled a couple of slides together with what you guys have been saying. Of course, international roundup as well with Arsenal players in action yesterday at Euro 2024. But we'll start with the fixture list. It's come out today. It's always an exciting day, isn't it? Always feels like it comes so soon after the end of the final season, but it just does give you that chance to sort of map out how the season's going to pan out. You look for the big fixtures, you look for the run-in, the start, all that sort of stuff. It's always an exciting day. You've seen social media has been alive this morning with people discussing Arsenal's fixture list, and it is not the kindest first up. Anyway, when you look at the fixtures Arsenal have, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Arsenal's first 6 fixtures of the new Premier League season start with Wolves at home, then it's Villa away, Brighton at home, Spurs away, Man City away, Leicester home. Those first 3 away games, Villa away, Spurs away, Manchester City away. Doesn't really get much tougher than that. But the joys of the fixture list computer, you have to take what you are given. And when you add in the fact that between that Spurs game on the 14th of September, or the weekend of the 14th, and the City game on the 21st, is Arsenal's first Champions League game of the season as well. And that could well be an away game as well. So you've got Spurs away, then you have to travel potentially away to Europe for a tough Champions League game, and then you come back and you've got Man City away. I mean, it's you just don't get a harder week than that, do you? It's going to be really, really tough for Arsenal. Yeah, not ideal. I think you'd have certainly wanted a better start than that, especially in a summer where there's international tournaments, because when you've got away games like this, you just can't afford in the Premier League, certainly when you're trying to win the title, which look, start of the season, Arsenal's target will certainly be to win the title. You can't afford to drop many points. We saw that last season. You just can't. You basically got to win all your games if you want to keep up with Manchester City. And if this season is a similar scenario, then Arsenal are going to have to hit the ground running, and they're going to have to hit the ground running straight away, because you can't afford to suddenly be playing catch up after the first 6 weeks of the season. If things don't go your way, Villa, City and Spurs, then you are going to be playing catch up pretty much straight away. So not ideal. I'm sure Mikel Arteta and Edu will probably be sitting at the training ground right now looking at it thinking, yeah, that's not what we were hoping for in this summer. And they're just going to have to make sure that the team is ready as best as they possibly can be, which again, when it's so disrupted by the international tournaments and players are going to be coming back later than others. Some players maybe not coming back. If the players get to the final, say Brazil get to the final of Copa America, and England and France get to the final of Euro 2024, then massive chunks of your squad are going to be coming back very, very late and not really going to be linking up properly in pre-season. So there's no way you can look at how Arsenal are going to start the campaign and think you're going to be right on it. And so that's why I know you've got to play these teams at some point. Everyone's got to play each other twice. It's an easy way to look at it. But I think you certainly would have hoped for a slightly better start to the season than this one. You look at the first weekend of this season, some big games there. Chelsea, Manchester City, Stamford Bridge straight away. Big game for Manchester City to come back to, having to go down to London and play a Chelsea side who will be playing under Enzo Maresca in the Premier League for the first time. You think that's going to be a really tricky game for Man City there. Villa have to go to West Ham. Made me laugh that Liverpool have got the 12:30 slot on the Saturday. I mean, yeah, even though Jurgen Klopp's not in the job anymore, I bet he's sitting there smiling to himself about that. So yeah, there you go. Leicester away. Spurs go away to Leicester on the Monday night as well. Not easy for them against a newly promoted side away from home. So that's the opening weekend of the season, which takes place on the weekend of the 17th and 18th of August. United kicking things off on the Friday night with a home game against Fulham. Now, when you're talking about a tough start, which Arsenal definitely do have, that does leave yourself, you would say, to a nicer ending to the season if you get some really tricky away games out of the way first. And when you look at Arsenal's final 2 months of the season, and again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see them laid out in front of you here on the screen. That's not too bad, is it? That's the sort of running you want if you're in and around it going for a title. Fulham home, Everton away, Brentford home, Ipswich away, Palace home, Bournemouth home, Liverpool away obviously looks very, very tricky at Anfield on May the 10th, and then Newcastle home and Southampton away. So, I mean, it's not the worst of run-ins that at all. If you could really choose your run-in, that would be right up there for it. We've seen Arsenal have some really difficult ends to the season recently. I think it's a little bit different. It's almost like the season's been flipped on its head a little bit now, because in recent years, it always seems to be the first North London derby of the season is going to be at home, and the second North London derby of the season is going to be away from home towards the end of the season. Man City normally away from home towards the end of the season. That's what it's felt like in recent years. Even Liverpool tends to be away from home. But it seems to have been flipped on its head a little bit. Arsenal got a tougher start this year than they've had in a long time, but they've had a nicer run in than they've had in a long time. And they've got Tottenham at home in the second half of the season and Manchester City at home in the second half of the season rather than the other way around. So it just felt a little bit when I was looking at the fixtures that it has all been flipped on its head. I mean, they've got, just looking at other sort of notable games for you, the Man City home game is on February the 1st. So the start, pretty early on in the start of the new year. You've got Ipswich at home on Boxing Day, the first game of 2024, first away game of 2024 is at Brighton. Always seems to be around New Year's, the Brighton away game. So there's some of the notable games. We've got Crystal Palace on my birthday. Crystal Palace away on my birthday on December the 21st as well. Not that that's really a notable game for any of you guys, but always one that I look for. The first Liverpool game of the season is on October the 26th at home. So yeah, those are the fixture lists. Let me know your thoughts on it all, as always, in the comments below. What do you think of the start? Are you like me thinking that Arsenal now have got to really make sure they can be as prepared as they possibly can be for the start of the season? Does that add extra importance to the summer transfer window and getting your business done so that any new signings are on board early doors and can settle in early doors so they are ready to really hit the ground running? Let me know, as always, in the comments below. Actually, I'm sitting down with James Benge a little bit later on today for Inside Arsenal Extra Time, and I think we're going to focus on that quite a bit in the show in terms of how important the toughness of Arsenal's start is for the work they're doing in the transfer window this summer. Does it just add even more? Is it even more essential to get this business in early? So you want us to talk about anything in Extra Time, or you want to talk about that subject, then you know what to do. Get into the comments below, start it with Extra Time, and then give me your comment, your question, your opinion, and I'll pull them together and get them included in today's show. We're not recording until a little bit later on today, about 3:30 p.m. UK time. So you got fair bit of time if you want to get your questions in ahead of that show. Right, moving on to international sort of roundup-wise. Arsenal stars in action yesterday at Euro 2024. A winning start for William Saliba. He forced his way into the starting 11 for their game against Austria, 1-0. Not the most convincing of win for France, kind of similar to the England game, really, but they got the job done. An own goal was the difference. Really unfortunate own goal, actually, for Austria after Mbappe got in down the right and crossed it in. And forgotten the guy, so it was Wobber, wasn't it? He sort of headed it in at the far post. Mbappe, nasty looking facial injury for Mbappe. Absolutely smashed his nose. 100% is that is one broken nose there. Could well be playing in a mask now for the remainder of the tournament. Saliba played well, did what he had to do, impressed, clean sheet, very, very comfortable. As always, on the ball, his stats were very, very good, as you would expect. Didier Deschamps was speaking after the game, and he was asked, why did you decide to put Saliba in after leaving him out the whole build up to the tournament. He said, look, if I decided to play William Saliba, it was because I thought he was more ready than Konate for such a match. But I don't want to lose anyone either. We will need everyone. They, Saliba and Upamecano, have 120 minutes together for the France national team. It's not a lot, but they have this ability to be very solid in one-on-one situations. Even if there were some clearances that they could improve on, they exuded a lot of strength and calmness. We needed that against such an opponent. So yeah, really good day for William Saliba. Good start to the tournament for him. Winning start to the tournament and a clean sheet. You can't ask for much more than that. Not such a good day for the other two Arsenal players who were involved. Alexander Zinchenko, Ukraine, getting an absolute hammering, losing 3-0 to a Romania side. That was a bit of an upset. Certainly the nature of the scoreline made it a bit of an upset, but nowhere near as big an upset as Belgium losing to Slovakia in quite frankly, was a pretty hilarious game. If, of course, you weren't Belgian, because how on earth they managed to lose that game, I have no idea. They had chance after chance. Slovakia obviously got an early goal and they managed to hold on somehow. Belgium missing some really good chances. Trossard had a really good chance in the first half when the keeper was out of goal. He tried to lob it from sort of 30 yards. It wasn't easy, because he was quite a long way out and you had to defend the charging back, but he just put too much on it and put it over the top. I don't think he had the best of games, Trossard. I thought he grew into the game in the second half, and just as he was starting to look the most dangerous he has done in the whole game, he was taken off by the manager. But yeah, I don't know how Belgium lost that game. Obviously had a couple of goals ruled out for Lukaku for offside, and then another late equaliser ruled out for a handball in the build-up by Pender, I think it was. He played pretty well, Pender, when he came on, caught the eye. But yeah, real big shock. I think that's the biggest ever shock in the terms of the gap between the sort of nations rankings. I think that's the biggest ever shock in Euros history. Slovakia beating Belgium last night. So not the greatest of days for those two Arsenal boys, but William Saliba getting his tournament off to a winning start. Elsewhere, some news from James McNicholas, aka Gunnerblog, in The Athletic today, that he says that Arsenal have convinced Karl Hein to stay and that he will sign a new contract imminently. They have been trying to keep him, so they'll be very, very happy with that. There is a suggestion from James's report, though, that he might well go out on loan, and that was part of the reason for him agreeing to sign a new contract, is that he just needs to go and play some games now. And so it kind of, one way you think, oh, well, that solves the issue of having to sign two goalkeepers in the summer. But then if you're sending them out on loan, then you still probably have to bring in a goalkeeper, don't you? Although it might just be you bringing a keeper on loan to cover for Karl Hein going out for a season. So in a way, it solves one issue, but there is still the issue of if he does go out on loan, then you need to replace him. But Karl Hein apparently very, very close to signing a new Arsenal contract. Okay, moving on to some of your questions and your comments now. So much reaction to what we were talking about in midfield yesterday when we were looking at sort of Declan Rice and what Mikel is going to do and what Arsenal are going to do. Do you go out and sign a out-and-out number 6 if you're only signing one midfielder this summer? Is it a 6 or is it an 8? Because obviously you got Declan Rice, who is brought in as a 6, but then played very, very well as an 8. So what do you do here? Do you move Declan back to number 6 next season and spend big money on signing a number 8? Some people were saying that yesterday, saying it's probably easier to sign a number 8 this summer than it is to sign a top-class world number 6, especially when you've got Declan Rice, who can just play there. So it's a really interesting debate, and there's so much reaction to it from you guys getting in touch. We've got here one from Phil, says, hi Charles, regarding the centre of midfield, I'm in two minds trying to predict what we'll do. Part of me thinks Onana, just because we were heavily linked in January, and he's the type of player Arteta seems to want, i.e. tall, athletic, like the Invincibles, and he probably feels he has the ability to get the very best out of him consistently. But then part of me thinks Arteta will look for someone who can play both 6 and an 8, or an 8 that can play wide, simply because you look at the team, he likes players who are versatile and can play as a 2. Play in 2 or even 3 positions and create unpredictability. So that was from Phil. Michael says, I agree 100% are either 6 and the 8 roles. However, the other contributing factors are market availability and promises made to Rice upon signing, i.e. his playing position going forward. Could go either way, maybe dictated by what players are available in what position market-wise. I think that's a really key point. I do look at what Arsenal might do this summer in the window and do think market availability could well dictate it, because you are in a position, I think, when you look at Arsenal's midfield, that if you're only going to sign one midfielder, I think you're in a position where you can just look at what the best market opportunity arises because of the players you've got at in the squad already. I don't think it's an absolute necessity that you go into the window thinking we have to sign an 8 because there are options there in the squad already to play that role. 100%. We saw how well Declan played it. Could Fabio Vieira make an impact next season? Do you keep Emil Smith-Rowe and potentially use him there next season as well? So there are options there. I think the club will just have to look at what's available, who the best player is available, and then decide to go with it. Weeds56 says, "Hi Charles, do you think that Pep would play Rodri as an out-and-out 8? I don't understand the logic of having a top-class 6 and wanting him to play in another position because he can play that position. In my opinion, we should be signing a deep lying playmaker and Alonso type to double pivot with Declan." Yeah, I mean, would Pep want Rodri to play as an 8? I would say no. I do think that Rice has shown he can probably play that role maybe slightly better than Rodri and be slightly more effective. Oh, I don't know, actually, because Rodri does pop up with very, very important goals, and creativity-wise, he is very, very good. So I get what you're saying, Weeds. Yeah, 100%. I get what you're saying, and that's why it's such a dilemma. I change my mind on it all the time, and I was saying it yesterday in response to one of the comments that it's like each comment that I read, I think everyone puts over such a strong argument that it seems to change my thinking on it every single day, which doesn't say much for me in terms of how much I'm committed to my opinion on it. But I think it just also says how up in the air it is. I could see it going either way in this one. And lots more of your reaction here. Burke here, 5908 says, "You're looking at the midfield with an outdated understanding. Arteta wants multi-positional players. Almost every player he signed since arriving can play in multiple areas on the pitch. Look at who we were first linked with to this summer, Bruno. He can play as a 6 or an 8, just like Rice. We're probably not buying someone who's a 6 and only a 6. Arteta is going to want someone who can do multiple jobs so he can have flexibility to cause opponents different problems as needed. It also allows him to rotate more easily. Unless you update your thinking to fit how Arteta has built the squad, you can't properly evaluate what we're doing. The question you need to ask is, does Arteta want another 6/8 type on the left, or does he want more of an 8 to 10 like Odegaard? Seems like he's looking more at a 6 to 8 with the names being linked, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see a more attacking midfielder come in too." So there's Burke's 5908's comment. Mr. Dominant Force says, "In relation to the midfield recruitment debate, I think we should pay attention to Arsenal's most recent strategies, which has been to recruit more versatile players that can play multiple positions. It's because of this, I think we're more likely to get a player that can play in a 6 and an 8 position like Declan. It will provide both competition and be a level raiser and depth at the same time." And Lanza and Vex says, "Rice at left 8 didn't bring Martinelli or Trossard back into the game. We need a left 8 who can help get that left side functioning again. I also think we need a natural left-footed left back 2, not Timber there. Rice at 6 for me." So loads of opinions there, loads of different opinions. I think the shouts about the versatility are definitely correct. We know that's what Arteta likes. We know that's what Edu likes. That's a squad they're trying to build, players who can play in different positions. That's why when I look at all of the options, when it comes to a midfield this summer and what I think ticks the right box for me, I keep coming back to Bruno, just because he can play as a 6, he can play as an 8. You can change your thinking. You can, depending on the opposition, do different things. He's Premier League ready. He's at an age where he can come in. He's pretty much at his peak, but he's still got some sort of areas to improve on. I just think it ticks so many boxes for me signing Bruno there. Yes, he's expensive. Yes, the release clause is high. I don't think Arsenal would go for that, but he does just, if there were, if the money was just there and you could go out and buy anyone this summer, I think for Arsenal, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, I just think Bruno's the one who could really be the difference maker in this squad, adds the versatility that they like, and yeah, just seems has all the attributes to be ready to make a big impact in Arsenal. But we shall wait and see what happens. I think so much reaction to that debate that just shows how sort of up in the air it is and how different sort of opinions everyone has on it. Right, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you for your time, as always. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I'm sitting down with James Benge a little bit later on today, so you want us to talk about anything in that show, you know what to do. Get down into the comments below with your questions, your comments, your opinions. I'll pull some of them together and get them included. Until then, have a fantastic day, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.